everything that's happening out there and everything that we are currently experiencing. But we also then get to make up our mind about the status quo and if we're happy with the way that things are going. If not, well, we have an opportunity always to address it. And this is why we do this between Monday and Friday, almost on a daily basis. But this is important. A slain Sean Crotty can only be described as a hero after he stood his ground when his family came under attack in a complex in Roodepoort, west of Johannesburg. Crotty was reportedly shot and killed in the wee hours of Saturday, 8th of October, after unknown suspects allegedly broke into his home. According to a post by Natalie Almeida, she alluded that the suspects jumped an interrupted electric fence due to the load shedding to gain access to the complex after 3 a.m. Natalie posted that the slain hero dad died defending his two sons. She wrote, a tragic loss for two young boys aged 15 and 17. They lost their mom 12 years ago and now also have to face the reality of living without their father, who was murdered this weekend. Saturday, the 8th of October, in a townhouse complex in Vilgehevel for two cell phones. Literally for two cell phones. Sean Crotty was shot and killed defending his home and children on Saturday morning at 3:30 a.m. due to load shedding. She lamented that the reality now is that two boys have lost their parents. Their aunt, Sean's sister, and her husband will take care of them, and we are reaching out to you for your support to love and assist them where you can. She added that Crotty was in no position to pay for any form of life policies and was struggling to make ends meet. To add salt to the wound, one of the boys had to celebrate his birthday without his father. Us South Africans need to stick together as we are all we have. Feel free to collaborate or corroborate details with DMS in this legitimate plea. Any donations and sponsorships that you would like to contribute, please contact Shannon at her email address, which is shannyvc1974@gmail.com. DMS Security has vowed to leave no stone unturned on this matter until justice has been done for the family. The Auditor General of South Africa's office has uncovered that SASSA paid an independent contractor north of 300 million rand in 2014 to administer payments but did not deliver on their promises. The Auditor General was presenting the audit outcomes of 2021-2022 annual report to the Department of Social Development, the DSD, and its entities to Parliament's portfolio on social development on Wednesday. DSD's entities include SASSA and the National Development Agency. Forensic experts have been appointed to get to the bottom of SASSA's irregular expenditure, according to a News 24 report. It is said that the contractor was hired to handle grant payments but did not follow through on the job. The AG said that the payment was made as part of a variation to the service level agreement with the company, but the variation went against SASSA's supply chain protocols. The report said the payment means SASSA would have suffered a loss because the service provider in question is in liquidation. The AG became aware of the irregular expenditure on the 1st of October last year. In February, National Treasury appointed a private forensic investigation firm to get hold of the bottom of the 316 million rand payment that was made. It reported that the investigation is ongoing. Furthermore, the AG's presentation showed that SASSA incurred irregular expenditure of 54.62 million rand for the reported period as well. Very bad when all this money is supposed to go and assist people who are literally living below the breadline. The road to Louis Trichardt closed while children miss out on school. Hundreds of protesters closed down the Elim Mall on Thursday, blocking the road to Louis Trichardt in Limpopo with bricks and rubbish, demanding that locals be employed at the mall. Motorists could not get through to the shopping mall or to Elim Hospital. The learners could not attend school either. Elim Mall falls under Njaga traditional area, but is also within the Davana traditional area. The protesters were mostly from Davana. Walter Mabasa, a member of the community and a leader from Davana, said crime was rife and Elim was most of the responsible were unemployed. We realized shop owners were hiring friends and relatives who are from outside the area. This should not be the case. He said attempts to engage the mall management to hire more people from the area had been unsuccessful. The mall is not going to open until we meet the owners of this mall. Vicky Muvali said that, who is the chairperson of Jaganjaga Traditional Council, said the council was not aware of the shutdown. A woman described the new mall manager, she said, was not allowed to speak to media and requested that the contact details of the mall owner from the manager, but she could not provide them at the time. The State Capture Commission has recommended that, based on allegations made by his estranged wife, Nomathule Mngoma, former Home Affairs Minister Malusi Gigaba be investigated with the view of possible prosecution. Mngoma testified before commission last year implicating Gigaba in state capture, allegations that Gigaba denied when he appeared before the commission. This recommendation is one of many after the release of the corrected version of the state capture report this week. The commission stated that corrected version included the analysis of the evidence of both Gigaba and Mngoma last year and the recommendations arising out of that evidence. In the corrected report, the commission also recommended that the law enforcement agencies conduct investigations with a view to the possible prosecution of Gigaba on charges of corruption in relation to the payments received by him during the visits to the Gupta's residence in Saxonwold on or about 2013. It is recommended investigations with the view of possible prosecution of Gigaba on a charge of corruption and or racketeering, to determine whether the Guptas gave Gigaba cash that was used to pay for his wedding, and whether that Guptas paid for the trip taken by Gigaba and his wife to Dubai in 2014 or 2015. These investigations must also determine whether the Guptas gave Gigaba cash that was used to effect renovations to his late father's home, Emandeni, in KwaZulu-Natal, and whether the Guptas gave Gigaba 425,000 Rand or more to pay off debts of his sister in 2013. Whether Ajay Gupta gave Gigaba 2 watches in Dubai during this trip there or thereabout, and whether cash used by Gigaba to pay his children's school fees emanated from the Guptas. Mngoma testified that apart from 20 visits she and Gigaba made to the Gupta residence in Saxonwold between 2011 and 2014, she was told by Gigaba that the Guptas gave cash donations toward the cost of their wedding in 2014 and honeymoon in Dubai. Mngoma estimated that the wedding cost between 4 million and 5 million Rand and said that she paid all the expenses in cash given to her by Gigaba. The commission said from all overall perspective, Gigaba disputed the vast majority of what Mngoma said. The commission said Gigaba described Mngoma as having a creative imagination and being a pathological liar, and contended that she was a bitter spouse, with her evidence being aimed at extorting a divorce settlement. It is said that at least for the first decade of him being in government between 2004 and 2014, he would visit the Gupta residence for cultural functions and social luncheons. 29 minutes now after 9 a.m. The Johannesburg Property Company, or JPC, said it plans to sue former Johannesburg Mayor Mpho Phalatse after she made demanding or damning allegations of corruption against the entity. The JPC is owned by the city of Johannesburg. On Wednesday, Phalatse opened up a case against the company, claiming that it committed fraud with 27 million Rand transaction in September this year. Phalatse claimed that the media on Wednesday that JPC irregularly spent 27 million Rand to honor a lease agreement, and proceeds from this transaction were used by the African National Congress to bribe councillors who voted to oust her as mayor in September. JPC spokesperson Lucky Sindane said allegations that they overspent on public funds are misleading. It was a settlement agreement from the court, so there was no overinflation of prices, he said. Sindane added that they plan to take legal action against Phalatse. We're going to sue her. We're going to open a case because she went on a public platform, called a media conference, and spread lies. At the same time, the ANC in Johannesburg dismissed the former mayor's claims that it bribed councillors to vote her out of office. Dimitri Kuleba says that by abstaining from the United Nations resolution, South Africa is turning a blind eye to Russia's war crimes. Ukraine's foreign minister, Dmytro Kuleba, says he cannot understand why South Africa did not support a resolution in the UN General Assembly on the 12th of October condemning Russia for holding illegal referendums in occupied Ukraine last month to try to legitimize annexing 4 provinces. He says, and I quote, "I cannot find any single reasonable argument why South Africa did not support the principle of territorial integrity that Wednesday's resolution defends." Kuleba said this in an online briefing for African journalists yesterday. "It's not about Ukraine, it's about fundamental universal principles of territorial integrity." Kuleba said that he had just completed a first African tour by a Ukrainian foreign minister visiting Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, and Kenya. The ruling ANC cherishes its relations with Russia because of the Soviet Union's support of the liberation struggle, but Kuleba recalled that in the 1980s, as a member of the United Nations in the Ukraine, had presided over the UN General Assembly. So, now that we are in the middle of it, let us hand over the live element of what we are doing as we continue to do radio according to you.
We are extraterrestrial. We are KNR. Let everything that has breath praise the Lord, our Keith.